Well, thank you for having me. I'm excited. It's been great seeing the energy of all the speakers. A little bit different in the sense that I want you guys to feel free while I'm speaking. If you have a question, to please feel free to drop the question down below, and I'll be reading the chat to try to respond to them. So although I know we're predominantly women focused today, I do notice the men in the room, and I thank you guys for being in attendance. And I want you guys to know, although we mentioned earlier, women, how can we support each other and teach our children? I know that, especially like in my household and in many households, the men, it's an equal job to be a part of the financial journey of our children and ourselves. And so I just want to make sure that all the tips that we list today are going to be can be utilized by either partner. So to start, I wanted to point out a couple of key things that I think are important for us to think about, right? Right now, we're living in a time where I personally feel like generational wealth has never been more attainable. And what I mean by that is I, as a person who's worked in finance for 13 and a half years, investment banking and forensic accounting, I've handled millions of dollars and I've made my clients that kind of money and handled these great portfolios. But there was a very big divide. And I honestly did not feel like the resources were as easily attainable as they are right now. And we're currently living in a time where everything is a click away. Rather, it's Googling grants, and the power of the internet. I mean, growing up, giving my age a little bit, I remember that if we had a typewriter in the house, that was exciting. And now we all have laptops and these devices and these phones. And I feel like this younger generation, sometimes the issue that we have is that I'm not gonna say they're lazy, but it's kind of like this complacency of, oh, everything's at the fingertip. And so sometimes I feel like there's this, the baby boomer and the middle age group between, especially those who are in their late 20s to, let's say, mid 50s. I feel like sometimes I notice that there is this this imbalance in which you're like, well, did I miss out? Am I too late to the party? Can I still be an entrepreneur? Do I have to be a 9 to 5er? How do I transition? Right? Everyone is now in a space where you can be a multimillionaire. So I say that I firmly believe it, and I'm very big on words of affirmation and understanding that the words that we affirm can be positive affirmations or negative affirmations. You could speak poverty into your life, or you could speak abundance and rich and the wealth that you would like into your life. So before I continue with anything else that I have to say and just some generational wealth type tips, I would like you guys to all repeat after me. If you would like, please feel free to unmute your mic. You don't have to, but hopefully you're saying it at least in your head. And so today we're going to say an affirmation, a positive affirmation. I'm going to type it in right now. All right, and I'm going to put it into the group chat for you guys all to say it. And sent. And so today's positive affirmation is, I am one idea away from being a multimillionaire. So I do this with all my students, whether you're adults or students or, middle school, high school students, college, doesn't matter. And so for today, I'm going to say it, and I would like you guys to repeat after me. And I'll go like this so you guys can know when to repeat after me. So I am one idea
I am
One
idea
away from being a multimillionaire.
being a multi-millionaire.
Millionaire.
So I say that because it's so easy to say when some people come from money. It's so easy when we work hard and we get these degrees, and sometimes we work for the people with money, and then we get into this, it's so easy for some people to say it, but not a lot of us have the experience of actually having to inch by inch, brick by brick, build that success, that engagement, and that multitude. And so in my position, although I had a parent who was very financially well off and understood the money world, I had one other parent who was my mother figure who was very bad with money. And so watching her journey with money, watching her struggle when her and my dad separated, I was privy to seeing front seat What could happen when someone lives borrow to borrow, when we're not financially wealthy, when we don't have the parent who understands that, hey, if you took $10,000 and put into a mutual fund, one that potentially, let's say, accrues 20% interest per year minimum, that your child in 30 years could have $2.3 million just off of the $10,000 in the right fund. Or understanding that at the age of 13, you can start building your child's credit in a positive mannerism. You know, we hear about how they put limitations on piggybacking, but besides piggybacking, there are things like, you know, getting a prepaid credit card for that child and putting their allowance on that prepaid secured card. So what I mean by not regular prepaid, but like a secured credit card. And so what I mean by that is, let's say Capital One. Capital One and Discover and these companies have secured cards. Even if you as a parent have, thank you guys. So even if you as a parent, let's say you as a parent might not have good credit, and you might go, well, how can I help my child build good credit because I don't have good credit? Guess what happens? You can get a Capital One secured card for that child and put their allowance on it. Let's say you don't give them allowance because money is tight. Let's say only thing they do get is $50 for their lunch a week, right? Maybe they get $100 towards a phone bill. Maybe it's a phone bill that you pay for the whole family. Put that phone bill on that prepaid card in the child's name and that secured credit card and that secured Capital One card. By that from 13 to 17, by the time the child is 16 to 17 and ready to go to college, they have a 700 something credit score, right? But then you don't just get them a credit card and get them good credit, right? You teach them that journey. The cool thing about the allowance is if you're doing it with whatever money they receive, let's say you give them $50 for the whole month, $20 for the whole month, whatever that amount it is that you give it to them, and you show them that, hey, as you spend this money, it's building your credit. But if you're irresponsible, it can lower your credit score. And you teach them these tactics, these things that we as people, as adults, know are so important. Why not start from when they're young? So the first conversation we want to talk about is how can you, in during COVID, teach your young ones financial literacy? The first step is transparency. Transparency with your girlfriends, your friends, your homies, your husband, your children, your wives. It's so important. We think sometimes because someone is young and it's a child that we don't have to have the budgeting conversation. We're sheltering them from the reality of whatever your financial situation is. Or you can be financially wealthy and you go, well, I worked hard for all of this and now you have to earn this on your own. And you don't think to say, well, let me show them that part of my financial success was budgeting. Part of my financial journey is knowing that these are the bills that need to be paid, and this is how much mommy or daddy makes. You might not want to tell your child how much you make and how much the bills take out. That's fine. But maybe if they want to have, let's say you're going to buy a house, including them in that process, being transparent and saying this is a journey to mommy or daddy or the family unit purchasing this property. So these are things that we really can work on and do. And as well, being sticking to our guns when it comes to our children. And what I mean by that is if you say that your budget to go to the supermarket is $100, when you get to the supermarket and your child starts piling in all these things into the cart, tell your child they have $10 and that is their $10 total. And they could take that $10 and spend it on whatever they want, including their treats, their cereal, their milk, whatever special treats they want, their juice. And guess what happens? When they know they have a budget and that budget goes for everything for, like, let's say the week or for the month, let's see how quick they pick up that extra box of cereal or extra box of cookies. Because now your child might start thinking, And when you follow through, like let's say the child starts negotiating and, oh, please, and they spend it. And then now 2 weeks later, they're asking you for whatever, $20. That's your job now as a parent to tell them, nope, I told you what the budget was and stick to your guns. Even if they cry, even if they're young and you're like, well, do they understand? Well, let me tell you something. If your child starts to speak and is a toddler, we all know that toddlers have a bunch of requests. I don't like the way this tastes. I like the way that tastes. So then now it's your job now as a parent to follow through and engage that toddler, that child, that teenager, and reinforce the financial responsibilities that you want to see in your child. And what I mean by that is you're not doing them a service, because when they go into the real world, they start to translate that same energy into the real world financially or business wise, or lackadaisical attitude of showing up late and not respecting other people's time. So that's one. Going on to another thing is tips to build financial success. One of the first tips I will tell you is that we hear all the time the cliche, you're never, it's never, there's never too little an amount to start investing. And I'm here to confirm that with you. Rather, you're purchasing a penny stock or dividend stocks that give you residual income, or investing in REITs because you're like, hey, you know what? I can't afford to jump into real estate as aggressively as you want to, but you still can find a way to go like Republic.com or REITs.com and invest in these corporations that invest in real estate. Or you turn around and you start to put that money into different, your 401k, maybe you have a company that matches. These are all things that are very important for you to find out and to aggressively plug into. Me as a person, as a finance professional with a finance curriculum and school systems, if you send me an email, I'm more than happy if you have some basic questions to help you. Now, I'm not going to pick your stocks for you, but I'll be more than happy to teach you for free a basic layout of how to pick your own stocks. I have 1,000,001 YouTube videos that discuss the same information as well. And it's stuff that I can send you, or interviews and things that I've been on. I noticed someone mentioned GameStop. Be mindful that there are things that are happening right now, and let's say when you talk about stocks and bonds and market, you know be mindful that there is a wave that is happening that could be highly volatile. So GameStop could play out, or it could be something that will take a lot of money. With the GameStop situation, I knew personally people who lost six figures, $100,000, $20,000, $5,000. And I also noticed how damaging that could be for them. So I say to you, it's not just about following trends, but it's also about making sure that you realize what kind of investor you are. Are you a short-term investor who's going to be watching the news very closely to make sure that whatever is happening and trending in the world, you're going to be right there and you can pull your money or invest more? Are you a long-term investor? Are you the kind of person who wants to put $500 into a particular stock and know that within the next 2 to 3 years that stock is going to accrue? And I can show you how to do that, right? Because it's really important for you guys to understand that.
Jatali, how can people follow you and find out more information, watch your YouTube videos? You have so much knowledge and wealth. Thank you so much, really, for sharing all of that. I was just yelling out to my sister in the other room, like, I hope you're taking notes for our
Well, you could find me on social media at Kids Who Bank. And the last thing I would really say, or email me, and everything is on my social media, Instagram at Kids Who Bank. Besides transparency, just remember, research and then develop, and start speaking that positive affirmations into yourself, and then do that research and that development. Start putting the step and process into allowing yourself to make it happen, because your challenge right now is to purchase at least one share of a dividend stock that gives you residual income, even if it's 20 cents, or doing one thing towards the success of yourself and your children, and you're never too old. Well, thank you guys for having me.